All right, good evening. Hey, if you're on here, it's likely that you're here because you are participating in the Road to Silver training. Road to Silver training is designed to teach the fundamentals of what it takes to be a silver. It's really going to help you orient yourself in this business to take full take full your potential, really, to maximize your efforts. Nobody is here who is interested in making money so that they can waste time. And I strongly encourage you to try to retain some of this information. Maybe the first time you watch it, this is week 2. There is a one before this, so if you haven't seen that, I advise going back and checking it out. But really, maybe the first time you go through, just take it all in, and then go back with a piece of paper and really write down some of the things that you feel like you need to remember. There's not a lot of information that you need to know in Advocare. However, there are some core fundamental things that you need to know to be successful. For instance, how do you walk someone from 0 to 100? How do you take them from somebody you haven't talked to yet to a customer, from a customer to a distributor, and from a distributor to an advisor? That's all we do in this business, to take people through that process. So if you're not sure how to do that, and you're kind of going at it on your own, this presentation here is really going to change that for you. I've done it before, like I just said, kind of winging it and just doing it my own way. And I'm telling you right now, if you can master some of these easy steps, your business will go from nothing to silver very quickly. So a little background, I introduced myself last time. I'm a personal trainer and a musician. My wife, she works at Military One Source as a call center manager. She is expecting, so she's going to be a mommy pretty soon. So this the stomach is a little different shape now, but we both live up in Northern Virginia. We're silver pin leaders with Advocare, and we average a bit over what the typical silvers make. We are knocking on gold. Keep qualifying for gold or gold 3-star, and looking to solidify that pin here in the next couple days. So, really what I'm coming from, or where I'm coming from, is a place of being in silver for a while and sharing my experience, guys. It's so important. We've gone from nothing to where we are in a relatively short amount of time, and it's no credit to me. It's simply we chose about 4.5 months ago to kind of change our methods. We went from really being hobbyists, people who we wanted this thing. We definitely wanted it. We saw the benefits of it, and we even experienced some of the rewards from it. But we weren't really doing it as a business, and that changed recently. So about 4.5 months ago, we got serious, and we went from a sporadic $600, $700, $800 a month to averaging over $2,000 a month for the last 4 months. This last paycheck alone, just the last pay period, was $1,750. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because if we can do this business, anybody can do this business. Plain and simple. So I start off the last training with recommending a book, and this training is going to be the same thing. It's a different book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. As you may have expected, in this business, you're going to be dealing with people every single day. I had a boss at my last job who, I had 3 different bosses. 2 of them, it was very clear they did not know how to work with people. They were always in conflict. People didn't like them. They didn't respond to them well. But there was a 3rd guy, and this guy, he just, something about him, like, you just liked him. He was telling you the same thing. He was telling you what to do. He could have been correcting you, but the way he approached it was so much different, and because of that, people liked him a lot. He could say in an easy tone something that needed to be done, and people would do it immediately, whereas the other 2 would have to yell. They have to get angry and sometimes threaten, and then you see people respond. And when I talked to him, I thought it was so cool because I had started reading this book, and I sat down and talked to him, and I asked him. I just said, so where do you learn what your style is? Because it's clear that there's a different style here. And he got real quiet and said, you know what? I sat down and read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it changed everything for me. So I really encourage you guys to get this book. It's super cheap. You can get on Amazon for extremely cheap. It doesn't benefit me at all. I didn't write it. I wish I did. but it's a good book. It's a good fundamentals that you'll use in this business every single day. So what is silver? We really covered this in depth last training, so if you need to kind of go back over that, go back on YouTube and hop on that so you know exactly what you're needing to do to get to silver. But a silver averages about $12,000 a year, so a little over $1,000 a month. And like I said, we're about $2,000 to $2,400 a month, so we're obviously over that. But that's just the average. So in order to get there, it's real simple. You basically have to have $100 of override and $3,000. That is $3,000 of volume somewhere in an advisor beneath you. Again, if you need more elaboration on that, go back and check out the last training. So how do we do that? How do we go from nothing? Some of you have had success and you've kind of bounced around. You're not 100% sure on what is it that I need to do. When we say the term, we need to close the pay period, that is a fundamental thing that everyone does who's successful with Advocare. And if you're not sure what that is, that's great. You're here. So we're going to learn some key fundamental things on what we do. So when it comes to the actions of Advocare, anyone can sit around and talk, but it really comes down to the actions of Advocare. Sitting down and making a list doesn't count towards your hours for action with Advocare. It's something you have to do, absolutely. But when we say there's traits that people do that result in income, and then there's traits that result in being a little more organized, but no money. And when we want to be spending our time, because I'm sure your time is just as valuable as mine. We don't have a lot of extra time, so we're building this business in our part-time. We really need to maximize our effort. So how do we do that? We use the success system. And so you can see on here, there's a bunch of arrows kind of showing the route of how it works. You start up here on the left, one-on-one meeting, two-on-one, or three-way phone call, which rolls into mixers, webinars, and conference calls, and this is team conference calls, and rolling into Sunday training. Now, some teams have Saturday training, and there's various teams out there that do it differently. Our team is on Sunday at 9 o'clock every single week. Sunday training is the power spot to take new distributors. They're going to learn some key fundamentals to get started. So let's start off here. A brand new person, what happens? How do we talk to them? What do we do to get them into the system and allow the system to do its work? If you're constantly running out trying to do all this yourself, you're going to get very tired. But if you're plugging somebody into the system the way they're supposed to, your workload is minimized drastically, and you actually have much more results and much more fun. So what is a one-on-one? Quite simply, it's you and a friend and a friendly conversation. That's it. Simply, you're going to contact them. For me, if it's somebody that I haven't talked to in a while, maybe I'll spend, and for me, I have to almost make myself do this because, when it comes to long conversations, I'm just not a phone guy. So sometimes I have to have somewhat of a plan. So I might have my watch on, and maybe it's 12 o'clock, and I'll say, you know what, I'm going to connect for 10 minutes. So just asking questions. How have you been? What's been going on? And I find, quite honestly, folks, that it's really more easy than sometimes we make it, because almost every time you call an old friend, they're going to ask at some point, so what are you doing now? And that's your opportunity to share, you know what, my wife and I are doing Advocare. And we'll talk more about what you need to say at that moment, so don't worry about that now. Simply going through what a one-on-one is. So we roll that into the next thing. So we go one-on-one to some sort of getting them in front of your sponsor. And real simply, three-way phone call, I call it a conference call, but we're taking that one conversation with our old friend or new friend or somebody we're seeing every day and we want to share Advocare with, and we're putting it in front of our sponsor. Now, I personally go for the conference call. Simply, in the professional world, I've seen that this is a very normal term. You hear conference call all the time in the business setting. So that's not abnormal, whereas sometimes three-way phone call is not as much popular. So I like to use conference call. And if you go to this website, freeconferencecalling.com, totally free, you can log in and get yourself a number and a code. And the cool thing about it is you can record calls. You can do team calls. So this is a function you're going to use a lot as your business grows. Maybe you need to spread the word on something. Maybe you want to record a conference call with some other leader that you talk to with some great information. It's an excellent resource, and it's totally free. So I encourage you, go check that out. You can take this number never changes. So the code that I have and the number I have is the same, and I have it as a contact in my phone. So when I'm ready to put one of my friends in front of my sponsor, I simply share that contact with them. They call it, and all three of us are on the line together. It gives me the chance to say, hey, this is that guy or that girl I was talking about. She or he is amazing, great friend. I trust them, and I build up my sponsor like nobody's business, you guys. I truly believe that's important. I edify the heck out of my sponsor every single time. So as I'm putting this person onto the phone, I'm just talking them up. And it's not out of a lie. It's out of truth. Everybody I put on with a sponsor, whoever that may be for me, I truly respect. So I'm really going to talk them up. And then my only job at this point is to hit mute and be quiet. Sit back with a piece of paper, listen, and take notes. That's it. You do not interrupt your sponsor when they're talking to your friend, unless there's some sort of crazy miscommunication going on and you need to interject. But you get on, you introduce in the first 5-10 seconds, edify your sponsor, hit mute, and do not interrupt them until they're done. Now moving into a 2-on-1. What is a 2-on-1? It's real simple. It's you plus your sponsor in a physical location with your friend. So places I often go are things like Panera. I love Panera because you can go in and they're very friendly. There's internet there. There's a lot of places like that. Coffee shops are similar. And if you don't want to be a stickler, go get a hot water and tip them. Hot Spark is really good, and people are accustomed to drinking hot drinks. So it's kind of nice, just go up there, get a couple things of free hot water, maybe put $1 or $2 in the tip jar, and then just go sit at your table and you can do this meeting. And there's really not much difference here. You introduce your sponsor, you're talking to them, chat is going back and forth across the table, you're all laughing, having a good time. But when it's time to talk business, your job, again, sit back, let your sponsor talk, and don't interrupt them. And that's really the most simple way. And I'll tell you, I know it's sometimes when people start, they look at this and they say, well, I want to talk. I want to be a part of it. And I guarantee you this, when you sit back and you be quiet, that is the absolute best way for you to learn how to do AdvoCare. Because you're going to hear your sponsor, how they answer questions, how do they talk about AdvoCare. What route did they take when they were explaining something because it applied directly to this person. If they're very interested in business, you're going to hear a slightly different message from your sponsor. If they're very clearly only interested in product, you're going to hear a different approach. It's such a great time to sit back and learn. It's what we call OJT, on-the-job training. And mixers and webinars, it's really just the same thing as a 2-on-1, except there's more people there. So it's going to be you. Maybe it's at your house. You could bring friends to another person's house that's in your organization. But it's simply getting your friends and your team together, small group, anywhere from 3 to 5, sometimes more, depends on how many people are coming. Sometimes you can pack out the room 15 or 20 people, and that's so much fun. But the point is you're getting a small group of people in your living room and wherever is comfortable. You're sitting at the couch, maybe you have the TV on with a PowerPoint presentation, or it kind of depends on how your leader likes to run their meetings. But it's really just getting those people in a room together, because the information they get there is going to really open up their eyes to what AdvoCare has to offer. And it's a great place for people to go at their second or third time hearing about AdvoCare. And we'll explain more about that in a second. Now, lastly, we go out of a mixer, right? The objective of a mixer and a 2-on-1 and a conference call is to give layers of conviction. It's actual statistics that somebody has to hear, the term AdvoCare and what AdvoCare has to offer at least 4 or 5 times before they become very comfortable. For me, I heard it many, many times before I became comfortable. So it's going to change depending on a person. But taking someone through this system is going to give them the absolute best chance at hearing what Advocare has to offer in a way that they can actually hear. Anytime we hear something new is talking about money, our first reaction is to shut down. So do not be surprised if you experience people shutting down. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It just means you need to get them in front of somebody who can give them the right message. Go out of that one-on-one and take them on the call with your sponsor. If they're ready to learn more, then take them farther. If they say that's enough for me, then stop talking about Advocare and just be their friend. But that's the whole point. We take them through this because it's proven that it takes layers of conviction. Now, Sunday training is such a good place because of a couple things, really. But when you get your people onto a conference call with the rest of the team, it's a very important learning block for them. They recognize this is bigger than just you. You are plugged into a big system of other people who have experience, and they're sharing wisdom with them. They learn from a second resource, so your leader is often going to have things to talk about and train on that you don't. Maybe you haven't learned those things yet. Maybe you have. But the point is to get them in front of your leader. I can't tell you how many times I've had a distributor that I was working with, and for some reason, some topic just wasn't clicking. I explained, hey, this is how you do a three-way phone call, or this is how you share your story, and they just weren't listening. And it was just because we're good friends. And a lot of times good friends don't like to take instruction from other friends. But then when we got on Sunday training and they heard the exact same thing I was saying, they were like, huh, you already said that. That's how I need to do this. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've told you that 100 times. But the fact is, that's just how it is. That's how it works. So take advantage of Sunday trainings every week. Same time, same place, 9 o'clock. It's a conference call. You'll see it on Facebook. If you're not a part of our group, go on to Advocare BattleFit or ask someone who you know is a part of it to add you, because it's now a secret group. Take advantage of that because it's great. And lastly, we take people to these events, and there's a reason for this, you folks. People, they may look at Advocare and say, man, this is great. I'm learning so much. I love it. But when you go to one of these events, whether it be Success School, Spring Breakthrough, Ladies Alive, larger business events that happen approximately every 30 to 45 days, depending on where you are. Like down in Carolina, they're starting to happen that often. Some other places, like up here, they don't. Up in Northern Virginia, we have the BizOp tomorrow with Laura Landers coming in. But they don't happen quite as often up here. So take advantage of when they do happen. It doesn't matter if it's your organization or someone else's. Get there and let them hear a bigger picture. But when you take a teammate, you will see, and I put my word on this, that you will see someone who is average in Advocare go to Success School, and when they come out, they will be well above average. Because when you get there, that is the last layer of conviction. You've come from a smaller team where you might have 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people in your area. But then when you go to Success School and you see thousands upon thousands of people in that room, and you see Advocare corporate doing their thing, and you hear the stories and the trainings, and you hear from the doctors, and you get to ask the doctors questions, everything changes. People come back from Success School and they make substantial amounts of income. It is also a fact that 80% of the money in Advocare is made by the 20% of the distributors who go to Success School. I'll say that again so you retain this. Take this home to the bank. It's true. 80% of the money that is made by the distributors in Advocare is made by those distributors who go to Success School. And it's only 20% of them that actually go. So if you want to be in that 20%, go to Success School. Never, ever miss it. Where there's a will, there's a way. And we've had people come from England and fly all the way over to Texas several times to go to Success School. People fly from all over. And the cool thing is this year, coming up in January, you've got all these different local events. So up in Northwest, you got one in Denver, out in San Diego, California. I know for our team in particular, Denver's going to be a big one. Atlanta, Georgia is going to be a huge one. Orlando, Florida. We got basically all of our team, other than the Utah, is pretty much on the East Coast. We got a few stragglers out here in California, but most of the team will be traveling either to Atlanta or Florida. So that's going to be a killer event to get to. You know, network with other people on the team so that you can get a cheap ride down there. There's no hotel fees or anything because it's just for an all-day Saturday event. So the prices are so much cheaper. You know, and then the cost of traveling so much cheaper this year. Really encourage you to get there. So, you know, with that being said, let's talk real quick. You know, all this stuff is great, right? Like one-on-ones, two-on-ones, three-way calls, all that. This is how you do your business. But how do you talk to that one-on-one? You know, what are some great tools that you can utilize in order to have success when you're telling people your story? And I want to say this real quick, a disclaimer for you guys. I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's a really funny movie. It's called Garden State. Kind of weird, but funny. And there's this guy in it, and he's an old high school friend. They haven't seen him since high school, and they go into a store, and he comes walking up, and one of their buddies, he kind of nudges him, and he says, don't let him talk to you, because he got involved with this pyramid scheme, and he walks up and he says, so what's been going on? And he looks at the two guys that have just walked in, and he all of a sudden this super weird vibe comes over him, and he's like, I'd like to share an opportunity with you that would be beneficial for me and you. And, you know, just don't be that guy. So if you're talking to your friend, here's a great transitional statement. If you can own this right here, no conversation will ever be awkward again. Say it and mean it. This may or may not be for you, but I thought of you and just had to share it. No friend will feel awkward if you tell them that and then tell them about Advocare. However, if you're insistent and you don't drop the topic, if somebody blatantly says no, just move on. There's no problem with that. People have the right to say no. That's why we have an option, you know, for how you get involved with Advocare. So if you have friends who say, I guarantee you it's not forever. But most of the people on our team were originally no's, and that is great because that's a good friend. They can actually say no. Just move on. Just be friends, and then I promise you, you'll get another opportunity. So the two ways we share our story, there are two versions of your story. So you're gonna have a product and a financial story. But when it comes to your 30-second story, this is a generic number. This doesn't mean it has to be 30 seconds. Doesn't mean it has to be 10 seconds. Your story, really, the 30-second story, the point of this story is to apply it to whatever situation you're in. So what I mean by that, let's say I call up a buddy named Mark, haven't talked to Mark in a long time, you know, and we get to talking, and he says, you know, maybe we meet up for coffee. We're talking, and he said, you lost a bunch of weight? You know, what did you do? And so here's some real simple, and these are going to change a little bit depending on the situation, but here's some real simple things. You know, basically you're saying how much and how long. That's really all your 30-second story is. How much, how long? How much weight have you lost? How much energy have you gotten? How much muscle have you gained? So for me, if he said that, I would say something like, you know what, a couple years ago, I did a program called 24-Day Challenge. And I stopped drinking Red Bull and Monster, which was like every day for me. I lost 3% body fat and 2 inches in my waist, and I got a ton stronger. I did this all in my first 24 days, and I've taken products every day since then. That might be my 30-second story. Now, if you know they ask me how I'm able to live the way we do and you know save money and build towards a future where a lot of folks aren't, yeah, I might say something different. It's like, you know what, the reason we're able to save money and plan is because we started, you know, a business. You know, my wife and I, we earn an extra $2,000 or more a month. And we're well on our way to be making about $5,000 or more a month by spring because we got intentional about 5 months ago. And we work this thing 5 to 10 hours a week in our spare time. So this is going to change. It could be a little different for everyone. But the point is, you basically have two elements of a 30-second story. You have your how much So I lost 10 pounds in 10 inches, or I've lost 45 pounds on products to date. Maybe that's your story. If you've lost 45 pounds over the last year, maybe you say, you know what, I started out on the 24-day challenge and I lost 10 pounds. Since then, over the last year, I've lost 45 pounds. So you got your how much, how long? Maybe with the financial aspect, maybe, we had just had two couples of distributors get back from Disney World. So perhaps your financial story is, you know what, my wife and I, we were able to save up the $1,000 that we needed to take our family to Disney World. It took us a couple months, but you know what, we paid for it all with our AdvoCare business because we got serious about this thing a few months ago. And we just got back from Disney World. It was the best thing we have ever done. We've been saying it for years we were going to do it, and we did. So I hope you get the point of that. Your 30-second story doesn't necessarily have to be 30 seconds. So if you have run out of things to say, don't look at your clock and say, I've got to keep talking for 15 more seconds. 30-second story is easy. It's just easy peasy, like normal conversation. If somebody asks you a question, how long would you normally respond? That's a 30-second story. Now, as we move on to the next story, we'll explain here in a minute exactly when to use each story. But a 2-minute story, this is going to be more for your dedicated time of hearing about AdvoCare. So perhaps it's, you've really gotten this person's attention. You told your 30-second story, and they're like, really? Yeah, sure, I'd love to know more. Because, you always ask the question about, would you like to know more? So this is your opportunity to really get into the meat and potatoes. And again, in just a second, we're going to tell the exact times to use these two. But there's really 4 elements in this, or 5, excuse me. So starting out, if I were to tell you my 2-minute story, I'm going to begin on where I was. So where I was, when Sarah and I found AdvoCare, we were living in England. I was in the military working crazy hours. I literally, for months on end, would be deployed, and I would work 16 hours a day. And between that 8 hours and transit time, I was sleeping 6-7 hours a night, getting my workouts in on lunch break so I didn't have to take into my sleep time. And I was drained, and I definitely wasn't making enough money. Okay, so we want to spend maybe 10 or 15 seconds on where I was out of your 2 minutes. You're simply stating where you were, obviously, like, what were your circumstances? Were you in financial debt, or did you spend a ridiculous amount of time at your job, or do you still? What you saw. So I've just told you where I was. Now what I saw is going to be something to the effect of, we had some good friends named Marcus and Megan who we had known had done this thing as a business for a while, and I knew they had made a lot of money. But I think the biggest thing for me was that they just seemed happy. Like, they were energetic, they seemed happy. They were able to afford some things that we weren't, and just kind of live life in a way that we wanted to. So we've told them where we were. We saw so-and-so losing weight. We saw our friends earning extra money. Whatever it was that you saw that introduced you to AdvoCare. What I did. What did you do about it? So, I saw them living this way, that they were able to pay for things that we weren't. And what we did was we sat down, we called them, and we said, hey, we really want to know what is AdvoCare, and tell us about it. So we sat down one night, and they told us all about what AdvoCare was, how to do it as a business, and we just trusted them. The only thing I had tried at this point was Spark. Sarah hadn't even tried anything. Never tried an AdvoCare product. And we trusted them and went straight to the business level. We got our order in the mail, and within our first 6 weeks, we made $900. But you know what's even cooler is I lost 3% body fat. Sarah lost 5 pounds, felt amazing, so much more energy. She stopped drinking Red Bull and coffee. We both drank a pot of coffee each every day. We stopped that, felt better. I gained 10 pounds of lean muscle mass, and all of my workouts just skyrocketed. It was amazing. So what I did, we've told them where you were, what you saw, what you did about it. You went to the business level. You got on a 24-day challenge. Whatever your spot is here, where am I now, or where I am now? So where I am now is, you know what? I've been taking products for 3 years. I absolutely love them. I wouldn't go a day without them. I have more energy, and I felt better. I feel on a regular basis better than I did for years and years in my early 20s. 29 now, and I feel just as good, if not better. I'm definitely in better shape than I was when I was 21, 22. And you know what? We're making an extra $2,000 a month, part-time, in our extra few hours that we have a week. And where I'm going. So remember I said 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds on where I was. What you saw, maybe another 10, 15, 20 seconds. What I did, this is where you're going to start spending more time. What you did, maybe a minute here. Where I am now, that's going to be at least a minute. So, you're looking at, math didn't work out, but 10 seconds, maybe 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. But we're really going to spend our time here. So we're making an extra $2,000 a month. But where we're going is because come spring, we're going to be making over $5,000 a month. I've already left my corporate job, and I'm training full-time now because the corporate job was just killing me. So I'm doing something I enjoy more now. But you know what? Come spring, we're going to be able to walk away from our jobs because we're having a kid and we want to spend more time with them. We're going to be able to walk away from our jobs. We've already replaced my wife's full-time income, and we're going to replace mine too. And so that I can come home and be a stay-at-home dad. And I'll still work just because I like it. But I'm going to have the option, if I want to come home. Is that something you would be interested in? And then have silence. Once you ask that transitional question, is that something you would be interested in? Just be quiet. Force that person to talk because they're going to tell you what they saw. So when do we use each? Here's a few examples kind of came to mind. In your cold market, folks, maybe you're in the grocery store and you're talking to somebody, and the person checking you out says they're tired, and you give them a spark and share your 30-second story. That is a perfect opportunity to share just a little bit. If they say they're tired, here's how you would say it. If somebody says, I'm so tired, like, oh man, I used to feel like that too. I found this stuff called Spark. It is incredible. I have more energy now than I've ever had. You want to try one? Right? Maybe friends, you bump into somebody. Just a real quick, how'd you lose that weight? You know what? I started a 24-day challenge. I lost 3% body fat. I gained 10 pounds of muscle. And I feel awesome. Co-workers, same thing. Now, we already said the grocery store, but really, this is the point of the 30-second story. It's an elevator speech, so it's a quick interaction with somebody. Now, a 2-minute story, this is going to be more of a dedicated time. So, with a mixer, we always open up with a 2-minute story. The person opening will always open up with a story. And whenever you do a training in the future, always open up with your story. You don't know who's listening. There could be new people. Unless you know for sure that there's not a new person, and even if, it's still a good example to tell your 2-minute story. Get people used to what that sounds like. 2-on-ones. So you're sitting down in a 2-on meeting, and you are the sponsor in this case, or perhaps you're not. Maybe you're the one that's bringing your friend to the table. Great chance to tell your 2-minute story. Get into the weeds a little bit. Spend 2 minutes really telling them how you got involved with Advocare and why. Conference calls. When we do team conference calls, you're going to hear lots of 2-minute stories. Biz ops, 2-minute stories everywhere. Dedicated attention. That sums up this whole thing. If you have someone's dedicated attention and they want to know more about Advocare, it's a great time to tell your 2-minute story so they can hear more and invite them to hear more. So once you're done telling your story, never finish a story without a question. Would you like to know more about that? Or does that sound good to you? Or anything that provokes a response. And lastly, we're going to end up on this slide because it's so important, guys. Get to Success School. It's super cheap. You can ride with some friends. We're talking about getting a bus to take down from North Carolina so everybody can be a part of that and split the gas money and just hop on, probably sleep on the way there because you're going to be kind of early. But it's all day Saturday. I highly encourage you to get there. When you get to these events, it changes your perspective. and it helps when you get back because you can actually make substantial money. All the things we covered tonight are things you'll hear there, but times 10. So you'll hear from great leaders. You'll hear a huge perspective, and you'll be stoked when you get back. And I guarantee it makes all the world of a difference in your business. So with that, we're going to end. If you want to go back and check out some of these points, I really encourage you. It's going to be on YouTube, so you can skip forward, find the things that you needed to relearn. And if you have any questions, by all means, either contact me or Sarah or whoever your sponsor is. We are always open to helping you guys. Let us know what we can do to clarify any of this. If you have questions, or if you've been in this for a while and you kind of realize tonight, you know what, I didn't do it right. I need to take those people back through the system. Do it, because we've done it over and over. People back in the day that we didn't handle properly going through the system, and because of that, they didn't have results. We stepped back, called them up, and said, hey, I just want you to know something. I don't think I did good justice of this. And I know when I was talking to you about Advocare the first time, it was a very one-sided conversation. You know what? I would love to get 20 minutes of your time. Think that we could do that? Great. How about Panera? What would be a good time for you? Awesome. I'll meet you there. Get back in touch with these people and really just realize that there is no end here. So you can always go back and talk to those people. And the people who you're talking to now, maybe brand new, if you're not practicing the system, understand two things. You're not going to have as much success. Guaranteed you're not going to have as much success. And two, your sponsor's not going to work with you. And that both of those are not fun. You want to make success. You want to have success. And in doing this program, it's made to do. It's a proven system. There's a reason Danny McDaniels makes $260,000 a month. It's because he used the success system with every single person. So, have a good night, guys. Any questions, make sure you ping us. And good night, and God bless.